Didn't even put up a tweet and tag me. That's crazy. Alrighty. If you're in the show, you know the deal. Been sleepy. Man, I have been tired this week. I don't know about the rest of you, but alrighty. We're here. Let's talk. This is the voice of college football, Missouri Tigers edition number 62. If you guys are here, like and subscribe. If you're here, why not? Please share. If you know there's people that love Mizzou football and want to discuss it, then tell them to come on over. I love people joining the conversation. I love people hanging out, talking. This is my favorite thing to do, and I would do it for nobody. So, but the fact that I get to potentially do it with some people has been wonderful. As I finish out adding my little info for the show tonight. So tonight's show, we're gonna have a simple premise. We're gonna go position by position, and we're gonna talk. Did the 2026 Missouri Tigers upgrade on the 2025, just in terms of talent? Now, we don't know about fit or anything like that. You know, we can't be sure of that until probably like week 7 next year. But in terms of talent and how you look at that roster on paper, does this team look better than last year's team heading into 2025? Very simple question. Do you like the outlook better? Did you like the outlook better into 26 or into 25? We're just going to go position by position. There are a couple really obvious answers, and then there's some that we're going to have a little work to do. Come on, refresh for me. I'm itchy as hell. So, upgrade or downgrade? And this is not, again, I'm repeating myself. This is not based on last year, like the end of last year, because clearly, like, there's some positions we're not just going to know. So it's just purely off of heading into the year. Did Mizzou upgrade or downgrade against my own preseason biases compared to last year? Like, we'll start on offense. Going into last year, I think this QB room is demonstrably better. I think it's demonstrably better. I think Austin Simmons is more proven as a passer and has a higher level of talent than Bo did. Now, I was excited about Bo. Like, if there was a world where we saw it in the Kansas game, there's a world where Bo works out and Bo's tremendous and everything's nice and easy. But it clearly didn't. But again, I'm not trying to have the biases of knowing how the 25 season worked out. I think Austin is a better quarterback. I think right now, I'm more high on Austin on February 16th, 2026 than I was on Bo a year ago. That's the best way to put it. I've been thinking all day how I want to phrase this. How do I feel better about the Missouri Tigers right now going into next season than I did last year at this point going into next? You know what I mean? So, anyway, I think Austin Simmons, at this point, Sam Horn had already basically been hurt. Nick Evers provides a little bit of a stopgap, and you still have Matt there with another year of experience, another year. It's better than like Brett Brown being QB3. Or Tommy Locke. I think at quarterback they have definitely upgraded across the board. I think the quarterback position is in a better spot heading into 26 than it was heading into 25. Again, if you're just joining us, the show is a simple concept. Do you, compared to where you were at this time last year heading into the 25 season, how do you feel about the team going into 26. That's like start. How did you feel about Austin Simmons compared to Bo on February 16th, 2026, compared to Bo on February 16th, 2025? That's just the point of the show. And you can, of course, catch all our stuff at the Voice of College Football website. Nope, that's not what I wanted to hit. Please subscribe to Mark Rogers at the Voice of College Football as we continue. Mark does an unbelievable job covering coast to coast. We'll move on. Running back upgrade, but that's just because we know how good Ahmad Hardy is. Last year, we were confident. I was confident Hardy was going to be really, really good. He was still battling snaps with Jamal Roberts. Both have returned. Marquise Davis, you lost him, and that's really unfortunate. You get Edwards from Houston Christian. I feel better just because we know how freaking awesome Ahmad Hardy. This was the easiest one to me because we know how freaking awesome Ahmad Hardy is. We know that he is a top 3 running back in the country, if not the best running back in the country. I know people will talk about Jaden Baugh at Florida, Kawan Lacey at Ole Miss. There's a handful of Big Ten running backs. Just kids at Michigan, the kid at Georgia Tech now who transferred from Michigan, Justice Haynes. There's a lot of really good running backs out there, but I think Mizzou has the best one, if at minimum top 3. So I feel better going into the year than I did last year about the running back position. I think you have to, knowing how good and just beastly these picks have been. Okay, let's move on to wide receiver. And again, I think I feel better this year than I did last year. The main difference being you have Caden Lee, who is a proven wide receiver in the SEC. We know Olubade has all the talent in the world to be a really productive SEC wide receiver. You have Caleb Goody on the outside. You have you have a lot of talent out there. Nashawn Montgomery is kind of an X factor. Compared to last year, where we had Kevin Coleman, who we knew was good, but we still didn't quite know about Marquise, still didn't quite know about Josh Manning. I say this every show. I grew to really, really, really like Josh Manning. But Caden Lee provides that stability, and I think with the emergence of Olubade, you have to just feel better about this season when it comes to wide receiving room at this point for this Mizzou offense. See how it plays out. Like, there's no excuse for the passing game to be quite the disaster it's been the last couple of years. So I think this is like the easiest wide receiver and running back for me were the 2 obvious upgrades. Not to take away from Marquise, not to take away from Josh heading into last year or Kevin Coleman, but I just have a little more faith in what Olubade is. I have a lot of faith in what Caden Lee is. And I think they did a nice job with Caleb Goody. Nashawn's got a lot of talent. They still have the 2 4-stars from the 25 class sitting on the bench. If they managed to keep Horatio Fields, that would have been really good, but they didn't. So just the fact. So with that fact, I think they did a really nice job at receiver in the portal. Once they brought in Caden Lee, before I was like, but once they brought in Caden Lee, I think it all came together, and I do think offensively, at least, you have to look at that as an upgrade. So I think we're 3 for 3 on upgrades right now on offense. Next, we'll head to the tight end room. Again, I think we've upgraded. Not because there's a ton different. It's the same guys. It's still going to be Harris. It's still going to be Norfleet. But we saw how good Jude James can be. And we know he's going to be more of a pronounced target. Gavin Hoffman has another year in the system. I know the coaching staff really likes him. So, again, I think it's just another year more of development, another year more of Brett. It's now or never for Brett. He's got all the talent in the world. He has the ability to be an NFL prospect, and maybe not an NFL star. But if he keeps getting hurt, keeps getting in his own way, it's just not going to go work out for him. I like Brett. Hopefully he can stay healthy. If he can, it would be, if he can stay healthy and you can roll out 11 personnel of Norfleet, Hardy, Caden Lee, Caleb Goody, Alubade, or whoever, that's going to be pretty good. This offense will have a real chance to work it from the skill position standpoint. So I just think you have to be ready. He has to be ready to play 12, 13 games this year for this offense to be really consistent. Again, I like Jude James. Harris does his thing in the blocking game. But, yeah, I feel better about the tight end room than I did entering last year, at least the depth of it. So I think we've upgraded there. Now we'll get to the interesting one, which is going to be the offensive line. Left tackle is going to be Caden Green. Again, another year experience, another year of, we saw him be an all-SEC player. He may not be an all-American level tackle like he is an all-American level guard, but he's a very good tackle. And with another year experience, second year now playing tackle, I think you have to say it's an upgrade. I think going into the season, I'm more confident in Caden Green than I was going into last year with Caden Green. And I think I'll leave it there. It's really easy to talk about when it's 1-for-1. At left guard, we'll have Big Dom. Compared to this year, where it's going to be one of like Zach Owens. It could be Piegler. It could be Dom again. It's just going to could be Logan Reichert. It's going to kind of depend. I feel a little, I don't know. It's hard to say if I feel better or worse, just because it's basically going to be the same group. I guess I would feel better if it's Zach Owens at guard than I would if it was Dom at guard again. So I'll say upgrade there. I'll say it's an upgrade. I feel a little bit better with Owens there than I would with if it was Big Dom. At center, it's going to be Tristan Wilson or Big Dom. Guidance worse. It's a downgrade. Connor Tollison had a lot of issues, and he did not have a great year last year. But going into last year, there was a lot of confidence that he could be kind of a centerpiece of this offensive line. It didn't work out. He kind of had a rough year. Just, call a spade a spade. He had a rough year. But I think it's a bit of a downgrade. I like the potential of Tristan Wilson. In 2024, he filled in very nicely at the end of the season to get some snaps in for when Tollison went down against South Carolina. He only played a couple games. He only played against like Mississippi State and Arkansas in the bowl game. But I thought he played fairly well. I think he has potential. I think he has talent, but it's going to be, it's again, I can't lie to people. I am not as confident going into this year as I was last year about the center position. At right guard, it's probably going to be Piegler again. I know upgrade, downgrade, I guess an upgrade because it could be Logan Reichert. And another year, it's like cool, but man, it is just not. I just did not. I liked his game towards the end of the year. It just did not. It did not turn out well. It would be the controversial one with Josh Atkins this year versus Trost going into last year. I actually feel better. Again, this is not will it be better in 7 months. It's how do I feel? How did I feel today versus where I felt a year ago today? I like Atkins more than I liked Trost going into last year. Now, is there a very good chance it is a downgrade? Yeah. Trost was awesome for the Missouri Tigers last year. But at this point last year, I was not huge on him at all. I was kind of hoping like Jack Lang or Johnny Williams or somebody younger would take a tackle spot. They didn't, and he was awesome. So shout out to him for that. So I think it's a bit of an upgrade, but I with the caveat, high chance it is a downgrade when the season starts. Just a decent chance of that. So offensively, I think they upgraded at most spots. Or I'm more confident at most spots than I was compared to last year. At quarterback, running back, wide receiver, both tackle spots, a guard spot, and a center and another guard spot. I feel about the same or worse. That's okay. I think once Cade Lee kind of tied the room together, I think they did a really nice job offensively in the portal. And this offense better be productive because we're going to get to the defense, folks. And I'm going to be honest with you. Yikes. So, again, it's just what we're doing today. Do I feel better or worse about going into this year than last year? This is Missouri Tigers Live. This is episode 62. Please like and subscribe, guys. You can catch Missouri Live on all your favorite audio platforms, Spotify, YouTube, of course. Apple Music, however you get your podcasts. I listen to a lot of YouTube because I love like horror stories. I don't know. It gets me through a work day. Don't subscribe to Mark Rogers. He is the voice of college football. Mark and I've been doing this for 5 years. Mark's been doing it for way longer. He does an unbelievable job covering coast to coast, from ACC East to ACC West. And then check out our new Voice of College Football website. We have everything on there. How many shows we have, who hosts these shows. Pulling up the website right now, the schedule, some articles from Mark. We have writers, we have forums, we have news, we have our shop where you can get hats, shirts, polos, whatever your heart desires from the Voice of College Football. It's all at your fingertips over at the Voice of College Football website. I'm going to get probably a gray hat, maybe a black hat. I don't know. We have so many, I don't wear a lot of hats. We have the red and black, baseball hat, T-shirts. If you're a Tennessee fan, we do have orange. We have all sizes up to 4XL in our shop. Polos are just in black and white, unfortunately for now, but T-shirts, kind of get whatever color you want, to be perfectly honest. So head on over there, take a look. If you go to the homepage, you can look at our schedule. We have our different forums on today. Alabama's Crimson Tide Live. I think you fixed that for me. Iowa Live. Rutgers, Missouri Tigers Live is me, of course. Ohio State, Georgia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Oregon, LSU, Colorado, Florida State, USC, and the College Football Show all today. For me, it says 6 Eastern. I never go on at 6 Eastern. I've been going on at 7 Eastern for almost 2 years now, so we got to fix that. But anyway, wonderful job stuff over there. So head on over to the College Football College Football website. All righty. And let's go on to defense, where it's going to get a little hairier, if I'm just being honest with you. We'll start at defensive end, where I think and it's going to be Langdon Kitchen. We're going to compare Langdon Kitchen to Zion Young. Okay, so let's be fair here. Let's again, what I'm trying to do here is take away the bias that we have because Zion was awesome last year. You have to take away the bias because, again, I'm not doing is Langdon Kitchen going to be better this year than Zion was last year? Probably not. Zion 68.5 tackles for a loss, 6.5 sacks, 42 tackles total, unreal year. But the year before, he did only have 5.5 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks. He, of course, had the touchdown against Oklahoma to seal that game. There was a lot of excitement about what Zion could be, but I think we all thought maybe he might be like your rotational defensive end when Darius Smith and Damon Wilson would be your pass rushers. I know I probably certainly talked about it. And he turned on into – he damn well might be a first-round pick with how his camps have been going. But it's a downgrade. Langdon Kitchen, I just don't know if he is quality enough athlete to play at this level. Going from Northwest Missouri State to Mizzou starting defensive end in 2 years is kind of a hard pill to swallow for me. I do not think it was an upgrade. I don't think with a straight face you can say, oh, we upgraded there. Langdon came in. He did have 1 tackle for a loss last year. He played in 12 games, did have 14 combined tackles, as my co-host is making his presence known. But I don't think you can say it was an upgrade. I just don't think you can. Hopefully he's awesome, but even going into the year. At the other DN spot, you have Damon Wilson. Now it's probably going to be Darius Smith. Again, put yourself in the shoes of last year. I'm going to have to say this for some of these guys. Damon had played 14 games for Georgia in 2024, 5.5 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks. He was great. And it was a very big pickup and a former 5-star. Everyone kind of had a lot of faith that he was going to be awesome for Mizzou. Now he's going to be replaced by Darius Smith. Darius Smith had 4 sacks last year. I'm going to call it a downgrade because we don't know yet if Darius can play the run quite as well. We didn't know Damon could. That was kind of the knock on Damon leaving Georgia. I'm not going to call it an upgrade. I'm not going to go that far because Damon was a former 5-star, had all the talent in the world, just couldn't crack the rotation at Georgia. I think Georgia probably missed him last year, was they did not have the year defensively that they normally. I mean, they still made the college football playoff. Was still really, really good. But he had 4 sacks last year. Damon Wilson 3. He had an interception last year, which is funny for Mr. Wilson. It's funny, like seeing these defensive end stats because he had only 9 solo tackles, but 9.5 sacks, or 9.5 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks. So he was not impactful in the run game as much as you'd think. 5.5 tackles for a loss, 4 tackles. It's only 16 tackles total for Darius Smith. It's just funny seeing defensive end stats. It doesn't mean anything. I just love those stats. I'm not going to say better. I don't feel better about Darius Smith heading into 26 than I did Damon heading into 25, but it's closer than you think. It's hard for me to put that out of my head how good Damon was last year and how good he could potentially be for Miami. But I think there is opportunity there for Darius to have a similar impact. The issue is going to be replacing Zion. I actually think they'll do an okay job replacing Damon with all the defensive end depth that they have. I'm just not sure how they replace Zion. I did not mention the depth with Malik Bryant and Jaden Jones and Kevin Tully and May from Louisville. Whatever. I don't think it's as good as Darius Wilson as your third DN. So downgrade basically across the board there, although I think it's closer than people want to admit between Smith and Damon. But Darius is going to need to have a huge year. Interior, Chris McClellan and Sterling Webb were your starters last year. Marquise got a lot of playing time. This year, Marquise and Jalen, it downgraded. Chris McClellan was unbelievable. Maybe the unsung hero of that defense is going to get drafted. 6 sacks last year, 8 tackles for a loss, 48 tackles. He had more tackles than Darius Smith and Zion, or not Zion, Damon and Darius combined at the DN spot. He was unreal for Mizzou. And Marquise had an okay year. He had 2 tackles for a loss. He didn't get a sack, and Jalen did not at half a sack. It's a downgrade. They have talent, but Chris McClellan we knew was an SEC caliber defensive tackle, and he turned out to be a really good one. Marquise is going to be the guy to replace that, and I just am not 100% confident that he'll be able to. Nothing against him or Jalen or Dante Simpson or any of these guys, but I think this is a clear downgrade from last year, unfortunately. We'll see what happens. Again, that doesn't mean it's going to be worse, and doesn't mean that some of the positions are going to be better. It doesn't mean that I Going into 26, I like Josh Atkins more than I like Keegan Tross going into 25, but Keegan Tross was awesome. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see, but I'm pretty confident the D tackles for last year's team are going to be better than the D tackles for this year's team. This is the biggest whiff Mizzou made all portal season. They tried going after the guys from Bama. They tried going after a bunch of D tackles, and they whiffed pretty badly. So we're just going to have to wait and see on that front. We'll go to linebacker next. Nick Rodriguez at one spot. I think just because of another year of experience, I think it's an upgrade. They'll have Beasley behind him. They'll have Huff behind him. I think Mizzou is actually in a good spot there. I think he'll have McClellan behind him. I actually think Mizzou's going to be okay at linebacker. I think that weak side linebacker is an upgrade just because Rodriguez has another year. When you have a returning starter, I think you always have to just naturally say upgrade. But at the other spots where it's interesting, and I'm probably going to say something a little controversial here, Josiah Trotter was outstanding last year. 13 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, 84 tackles, and he was coming off a 92 tackle season at West Virginia, 4 tackles for a loss, and half a sack. However, and I'm going to say this for all the time because I don't want to get clipped, going into the 26 or 25 season, we didn't know how good he was going to be. Robert Woodyard has been an established SEC player, 67 tackles last year, 7 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks on a very good Auburn defense. I actually feel better at this point with Woodyard than I did with Trotter going into last year. I think it's an upgrade. Again, will the production in 26 be better than the production 25? Probably not. Maybe not. But I feel better about the linebacker room going into this year than I did last year. Because I know McClellan's good. I know Beasley's good. I know Rodriguez is good. They're high on Huff. Khalil Jacobs, we'll see. He's gone, never mind. But I actually feel better about the 2 starters. I think they upgraded depth. I haven't really gone into depth a ton, but I think they've done a decent job there. So now we'll go to safety, I guess, at I just don't know at safety. They have Kinsley Luter-Faustin replacing Dalen Carnell. I like Luter-Faustin. I think it's a bit of a downgrade. Dalen Carnell was a 3-year starter here. He played had a big important role here. It is just kind of a downgrade. I don't think. I think across the board you're going to see downgrades here. Santana Banner versus Marvin Burks. I actually think it's an upgrade. I think Santana showed a lot last year where, yes, Marvin could have come back and played, but I think they trust their depth a lot more. And then at your other safety spot, you're replacing Jalen Catalon with Greco and like Jackson Hancock and CJ Bass and Jadon Blair can maybe get some rotation snaps in here. And you also have the Washington kid at linebacker. I neglected to mention him. I wasn't really getting into depth. I'll just go safety across the board. I think there's an upgrade here. I think there's an athleticism upgrade. Jalen Catalon did not have the impact. You know what? No, I'm not going to say that because I was really, again, this is from last year at this point to next year. I think everyone was really excited about Jalen. Another year for Marvin Burks. I was never high on Marvin Burks, but it was a second year. So it's like, oh, hey, maybe he'll show us something. And then you still had Dalen Carnell. I think across the board, you can't be as excited about the safety room. I think there's talent there, and I've gone over that, but I just don't. I downgrade. And then at corner, last year going into the year, you had Toriano Pride, you had Stephen Hall, and you had Dre Norwood. This year, downgrade. Deloach, Florence, Chris Graves, Dotson. Like, there's guys here. There's talent here, but you knew what you had in Pride and Norwood, and you expected them to get better in year 2 in like Pride's instance, and he did. I think this is a downgrade. at spots at your cornerback position. There's talent there, and I think there's an ability there that two guys could emerge, or one guy along with Chris Graves Jr. But I just am not confident that I'm not as confident going into last year as I was, or going into this year as I was last year. I'm just not. I was looking at some of the streams from last year. I was looking at some of the preseason talk. I think everybody kind of knew Mizzou's defense was going to be pretty damn good last year. It's a large unknown this year what this defense is going to be, and that's unfortunate. So the offense is going to have to be. Why is this like itchy? There we go. The offense is going to have to be spectacular this year. Not like best call, not 2019 LSU, obviously, or Indiana, but it's going to have to be a really productive offense. Oh, Syracuse, what has happened to you, my dears? So let's go upgrade and downgrade. Now, let's go into the coaching staff. Is Chip Lindsey an upgrade over Kirby Moore? I think yes. I was not high on Kirby Moore after the 2024 season. I was kind of hoping he'd leave. I think he's more established. I think he's more ready to go. Obviously, he's older. Again, his offenses haven't been amazing. If you look at his track record, it's very spotty. But I think year one, he normally does a good job. And according to Michigan fans I see that I talked to, he did a good job last year. Bryce, just being a freshman, didn't see it. I'm not. We'll soon. We're gonna go like coach, because Mizzou did make a lot of new coaching hires, and kind of go through them. Upgrade, downgrade. The new special teams coach couldn't possibly be worse than Eric Link. Just couldn't be. Like Garrett Riley wasn't true. I like that hire a lot. They kept a lot of their staff. We'll go through the coaching staff probably next week. That seems like a good, fun idea for a show. But I think at least at the big spot offensive coordinator, they upgraded. And they had to. The offense cannot suck next year. And I don't mean like last year's offense did not suck. But when they got to games against real teams, Alabama, they put up 24, but it was a really spotty 24, and they did get a short possession. Remember, they scored on a short field. They scored on the opening kickoff, which was a great script from Kirby. Don't get me wrong. And they scored late when they were down 2 scores. Those are 3 touchdowns. Nothing in like the middle of the game. Offense did nothing against Oklahoma. It did nothing against Vanderbilt. Even when Bo was in the game, it did nothing against Vanderbilt. It really struggled in those higher profile games. It struggled against Virginia. And I know they were missing a lot at receiver, and I don't really care about bowl games, but thank you, ESPN, Fox, for making bowl games not matter. Like one of the coolest things that college football had going for it just doesn't matter anymore because TV networks decided to trash their own product, which is awesome. Love that for them. But Mizzou offense has to be better this year. It has to be an efficient, effective offense against every team they play, not just Troy. And God, who's their Central Arkansas? Who's their freaking? I cannot. I don't know about you guys. I cannot commit to memory who their stupid FCS game is against. Is it Central Arkansas? No, UAPB. Even worse. Wonderful. Whatever. Every team has one. It's fine. But the offense has to be better. Just a couple thoughts then around the country about college football. Sacramento State joining the MAC sucks. Sacramento State's not a great program. Now, they've been putting a lot of money into it, so it's not a surprise that they got to D1, and, good for them or whatever. But you're in the MAC because Northern Illinois is going to the Mountain West. So, like, the MAC was, like, the one conference we had left that was really regional. And I know Sacramento's not L.A. Like, it's not going to – Sacramento State's not going to be shocked by 40 or, cold weather. But I'm just trying to imagine a team from Sacramento – playing in freaking all these places that you play in the MAC, at Ball State, Miami, Ohio, Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, Central. Like, I just don't see it. We'll see what happens, but it sucks. And then North Dakota State, a little more personal for me. They're joining the Mountain West. I only say it's personal because I went to a school, Western Illinois. Western's now moved to the OVC because they're terrible. But North Dakota State was in my school's conference while I was there, basketball and football. And football, they were just a machine. And it sucks for the FCS to lose a machine like you lost your Alabama. You lost your Ohio State. North Dakota State fans are, we're tired of killing everybody. Like, okay. But now you're trading out games for South Dakota State, South Dakota, like these schools that you have a long established history with, for Boise, Wyoming. It'll be cool next year for them. We'll see how it goes long term. Now, based off like power ratings and stuff, North Dakota State's going to be okay. We'll see how this changes their recruiting. But they're going to be okay. Like, they've always been a great program. They've all consistently have been if you stick that for the last decade or 15 years, it's if you stick them in the Mountain West, they're consistently a 9-3 type team, if not better. So that one hits a little close because I've seen North Dakota State Live, Fargo Dome, all that stuff play my school. And it just kind of sucks that everyone is in a rush to get out of the FCS. Like Missouri State, what are you doing in Conference USA? What are you doing? I legitimately, not kidding, looked up the Missouri because I live here in St. Louis and I love Arch Madness. It's one of the coolest tournaments. It's a fun tournament. When I worked at the Enterprise Center, I got to work the tournaments. And I was looking at the Missouri Valley Conference standings just because I'd be lying to say if I've kept a great up with them. Couldn't find Missouri State. And I was like, oh, right. They're in Conference USA for some reason. We don't want to play Loyola Chicago and not Loyola Chicago. They're not in the Missouri Valley Conference either. Wow. Horrible with my MVC. We don't want to play Drake and all these other schools and Northern Iowa. We want to play Kennesaw. What are we doing? Conference. Just some of this conference. This is a rant for another time, but just some of these conference realignment things are so stupid. And they're 7-7 and 13-12 overall. I hope it was worth it. Going to play regional rivals, and now you're playing Jacksonville State, FIU, New Mexico State. I hope it's going well. It's clearly not. You're 7-7. Of course, Missouri State's been kind of a joke. They did hire Kwanzaa back, which is hilarious, but whatever. I'm not going to go on a Missouri State rant right here. SLU's doing great. I'm going to the game Friday. I'm very excited for that. Mizzou basketball, you blew an opportunity to really cement yourself in the tournament. Now you're going to be playing. Mizzou basketball is going to be playing on this bubble, man, where they win a game, they're going to be in. They lose a game, they're going to be out. And we're going to see what the committee does in March. Now, if they win a bunch of games late, they're going to be in. They lose a bunch, they're going to be clearly out. But I feel like they're going to be playing hopscotch with this, or jump rope, excuse me, with this, with the cut line, and we'll see. I don't think they're a tournament team. I don't think they're going to make the tournament. I think when you have an ugly loss at home to Texas, bad losses to Ole Miss, a bad loss to LSU, you blew the game against Georgia, bad loss to Notre Dame, got beat by 40 to Illinois. I don't think you deserve to make the tournament. Nice wins over Florida, nice win over Kentucky, really nice win against Texas A&M. I don't think you deserve to make the tournament. You just don't, which will be interesting for Coach Gates going next year. Other Mizzou sports, baseball, abolished the program. They beat the crap out of Mount St. Mary's today. Doesn't matter. They already lost a game to Mount St. Mary's. Abolish the program. What are we doing here? Mizzou baseball at a time was a power in the sport. Sort of like the St. Louis Cardinals were once a power in professional baseball, and they are not, and have not been for a decade. Mizzou baseball's been 20 years. It's hard to recruit kids to play in a northern climate. It's hard to recruit kids to play in the SEC and play in a northern, because it gets cold here. Fans don't care. The administration doesn't care. Just abolish the program. Softball's off to a slow start. We'll see what happens there. Last year was a disaster. I know there's not a lot of high expectations for this year, but it's kind of just touching on Mizzou sports. Basketball and women's basketball, not good, but it's better than it's been. At least the trajectory's there. So I would love Mizzou had a good women's college basketball program. There's no excuse for Mizzou not to. So that's just kind of touching on Mizzou sports. Basketball is a big one against Vanderbilt. Wednesday, I want to say Wednesday. Must win. Got to win the home games. So we'll see what happens there. We'll be back next Monday. So that's going to be the show for tonight. This was Missouri Tigers Live. We just went through upgrade, downgrade. How do we feel about every position going into this year compared to how we felt going into last year? Please like and subscribe. Like and subscribe to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Like and subscribe to the voice of college football and to all our channels. There's a lot of people that put in a lot of great work. I just went through who has shows just today that you can listen to on all your favorite audio platforms. Check out our website, guys. I'll put it in the chat. Look at the website. Look at the merch. We have a lot of fun stuff over there. A lot of who has shows, what time they have shows, except for my show time is wrong. Because it says I go live at 7. I've been going live at 7 for a year and a half. I'll text them, figure that out. College baseball's gotten going. The Olympics have been a lot of fun. Women Canada versus U.S. in gold medal game coming up. The men's team has a tough task to the gold medal. They got to probably beat like Sweden, Finland, and Canada to win a gold. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, let me look at the hockey bracket. We're just touching around sports. But the Olympics have been fun. The NBA disaster All-Star weekend as per usual. But the nice thing about this is now that this is all over, we're heading down to the final spots before the playoffs get going. The Super Bowl is over. We talked about it last week. Drew Lock is a Super Bowl champion, which is awesome. Good for him. Another Mizzou backup. So the U.S. will play the winner of Sweden and Latvia. They'll probably play Sweden. They'll have Finland and then Canada in the gold medal game. No one's stopping freaking Canada. So that'll be fun. Anyway, I'm just kind of rambling here. So like and subscribe. Come to all these spots. Have a great rest of your week. Hope you had a lovely Valentine's Day. Next time I see you, it'll be February 23rd, and spring ball is right around the corner. So everybody have a wonderful night. Stay safe. And MIZ.